Hello, everyone. I'm Ti Dave, and I'm here with Amy today. And we're going to discuss a few things. We're going to start talking about this orgonite stuff. I was going to explain to her how it's been helping, believe it or not. You can't get any orgonite, and I know I've shared this before on my thing, but I think it's very important because it has been helping tremendously. I'm not going to say it don't block my V2K at all, but it does help with nausea, shocks to the back of my head, my spine, my shocks, I mean vibrations coming up from my feet to my chest, different stuff affects it is lightened, and some days it's just totally gone away. But I'm not going to say I don't get hit because I do get hit. But I notice like I still get very bad tinnitus with it on. However, like
Your V2K turns into the titanitis.
no, I'm still getting the tinnitus.
Oh, okay. So you
Like
have
it
that
goes and
with it.
comes. Like if I was to take this off, well, see, this is Holly's. She left it here while she was at work because she don't want to break it, and somebody was nice enough to help us, help her get one because we were actually taking turns wearing it. That's how, and I showed in an earlier video how it brings EMF down. Now the thing is about this thing is, I wanted it for my birthday because I researched and I seen one on Etsy where they were putting it up against a tri-field meter. You could buy it, and they were showing an example. Well, I looked up how it would work, why it would make the tri-field meter do that, and it said, well, if the copper and the materials arranged in a certain way to make a Faraday cage, a Faraday shield, then that's the only way it would do that. Or if it had electricity running through it. So I studied it for like 2 months and studied, and it said don't go to. It said make. I said I asked a couple like Chat GPT and stuff, which I really don't like going to for information, but I was trying to go every route I could to really research if I was going to try to get one of these things or not. And it said these little shops that actually put their effort into it is the best route to go. And so I got one, and it ended up working. So it's got black tourmaline, uh, copper, shungite, orgonite, Herkimer diamond, just a bunch of different stuff are arranged with certain kind of resin that holds it all in. And I'll take it off. See, when I take this off, every time I take it off, my ears pop. I find that
Wow.
odd too.
Okay.
Like tinnitus,
Interesting.
kind of like pressure in my ear, but
Right.
that's what it looks like.
Well,
And
that's
it's
pretty.
and Holly's looks like this. She got a different one, but they are the
So
person
they
selling
got
these on
different
Etsy.
styles and stuff like that too, right?
Yeah, the person selling these on Etsy uh, shows them being put up against a tri-field meter on every one they sell. Now, if you're going to get one, the first thing you need to do before you put it on is pray over it, dispel any negative energy. That's what I did. You don't want
Oh,
to take no chances if you're worried about somebody sending you something that may have some kind of negative energy put in it. You
that's
just
true.
cancel that out,
That's a
and
good
cleanse
call.
it.
I wouldn't even have thought about that, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's actually kind of true, really.
Right, because because a lot of people's ask me, what do they put some kind of curse in it or something, and that is a good question. Well, I believe well, I believe the way I believe in the power of Jesus, and I
Mhm.
prayed over ours before we even put it on and dispelled any.
And that's something I've always done. Even when I get like what was living in apartment complexes and moving from place to place to place, I would always bless my home. I would
Oh
have the
yeah,
pastor come in and go ahead and say prayers over my home, and that way it takes out all negative energy inside of the place. So that's something that I grew up with, and I'm a strong believer, and I have a very good religious belief and belief system with that, at least in with God. But we all practice our faith differently. So it's
right,
kind of like what you believe in, but that's the whole point. God gave us free will, and we have to do what's righteous in our personal minds in the name of the Lord. So.
right. Have you researched any of that before? How orgonite works?
I have. I've actually, on my website, I had a organic, it's hidden right now. I'm gonna be putting it back up. I just remodeled my website. So, I had an organic and natural page. It has different remedies and stuff that TIs or victims have sent me that has helped them, and I posted on it. I've done research on every single item to one, verify if it could possibly be a solution, or two, if it would be something that works. And some of them are simplistic, like the colloidal silver, um, but there's a specific colloidal silver that you have to get, and it has to have a key ingredient in there. And if you don't do the proper one, then the colloidal silver is not going to have any effect on you. So I even take out the time to look at companies and provide a link to that location that you could buy that correct item. So, in regards to orgonite and like the copper, I've seen different videos. Um, some can be used as an amplifier. The way that the item itself is built can actually become a radio extender and amplify the communication systems. But when it's built in a specific way, then that is what causes with the coil systems inside the EMF reduction. So it's kind of hard to do studies and scientific backings with that because most people sell different types of products, and I don't have that type of money to eat or energy to put,
Right.
put that in there. But I'm glad that I've always been intrigued by it. I watch people make videos of the shungite. I find it very, very interesting and intriguing. Some people make candles out of the
Right.
shungite. So I find stuff like that kind of, and I keep an eye on it. I haven't ever tested it, but I'm glad that it's working for you. I might actually get one myself with that since you say that
Yeah,
it's
I seen
working.
somebody on TikTok and he was making his own and talking about how powerful they are if they're made right. And so I went on a 2 month. I spent hour after hour researching before I even got from this company because I'm like, well, if they're putting theirs up to a trifield meter and it's making it go crazy, that's the one I want. So I'm just telling everybody. Oh yeah, and one thing about this, if you do get the right orgonite, and a lot of people just because this company has a pyramid as their logo, and I didn't even notice it. I was so excited about getting something to block EMF because I was going through it so bad I didn't even notice it. They're questioning it, which that's why I said you got to bless it. But if you are fortunate enough to find a different company that makes it right and it does work, always remember you cannot use a metal cord to put your pendant on. It has to be like a cloth cotton cord, like you
Mhm.
see silver, because it'll cancel out the effects, and they tell you that when they send it to you.
See, that's something I didn't know about that. I
Yep.
didn't know that. Oh, hold on. Let me get something really quick. I'll show you what I use. There we go. So the one thing that I use a lot, usually to help me sleep and stuff like that and clean the airways because I have sleep apnea. And a lot of that was due to my neck injury that I had in last year where it was collapsing and the esophagus and stuff like that. So it's called an air shield. And oh,
Somebody sent me that they plug in the wall.
this is actually what it does is you could wear this one you could wear around your neck. And
Oh, cool.
what it is it acts as like an ionizer, basically. So what an ionizer does is it helps drops like dust, airways, and particles down to the ground. Any heavy metals, and it cleans the air so that you can breathe properly. And so a lot of victims also say that they get chemical attacked and that they breathe in chemicals all the time. Something like this, an ionizer, and you don't have to get this specific brand. You could look up like an ionizer, and they have ionizers for the whole entire room. It acts like a humidifier, right?
Right.
And so that ionizer, it drops all of those particles and cleans the whole entire air so you don't breathe in those heavy particles. So this one you could charge, you could wear it around your neck. I wear it around my neck while I'm
Are
sleeping.
they expensive?
This one only cost me like 75 bucks, I think.
And how long they stay charged?
12 hours.
Wow. Have you heard
And
of this?
then you just reset it, and it's so simplistic, and it has just a regular C port. So even if it dies, you could charge it with like your phone charger. It's just a regular.
Oh, have you heard about this stuff? It's called Aegis Guard. Somebody sent it to me. This stuff's very expensive though. It's a frequency range spray. Uh, Let me see if it says radiation shields. It's a world leader. Anyway, it's non-conductive deflect radio frequencies, electromagnetic fields they carry away from the user instead of absorbing them for anyway, it radiation shield anyway, let's see. It was developed for military application, and it's got the wash laundry detergent to protect airborne. I was trying to look at the spray. Oh, here it is. Sprayed onto surfaces, wipe dry, and deflects radiation frequencies emitted by virtually all wired and wireless products away from the body's windows without affecting performance, power consumption. You ever heard of that stuff?
Mm-mm,
It's a
no.
spray, and somebody sent it to me, and I was like, "Wow, that's weird."
It's
So you
seven hundred
spray it, and
dollars
it
for a
deflects.
spray.
I just think we're coming up on the age where all this stuff is going to it's going to be normal to buy radiation protective clothing and everything because all this stuff they're getting ready to do, implement.
And isn't that sad? We shouldn't have to live in a world that we are starting to sell radiation clothes instead. And you talk about climate change. For all those people who believe in climate change, don't you think they should change the radiation levels and
Right.
reduce the heat and the climate inside the area? That's what I'm seeing, a huge increase in people who are getting attacked. And it's going rampant right now. Um, it's just not just the same people inside the
Do you
community.
get a
It's
lot of
getting spread
people?
out anywhere.
Do you get a lot of people like I tell people like people will call me and say, David, let me ask you this. I'm having fatigue all the time. I'm having pain in my muscles, my bones hurt. Well, the first thing I tell them to do, I said, well, I'm not saying you're not getting hit because you are, but what these weapons are doing, they're pulling vitamins out of your body. So the first thing you want to check is B12, D, magnesium. Check your vitamin levels because these weapons will pull vitamins out and cause vitamin deficiencies, which cause your problems. On top of, it's not just the weapons causing it, it's the vitamin deficiencies caused by the weapons
Right.
causing it too.
And
So a
that's
lot of
right.
times vitamins will help a lot. I know they have me and Holly.
Yeah. That's absolutely true. That goes in part of the targeting because of the chemical manipulation that they do. They have to, which is why the stomach area is such a big, huge that get location that gets attacked all the time. And that's because it's stealing your nutrients. Anything that food wise that you put in your stomach, they are going to use it's for their and mRNA, DNA manipulation tactics. They're going to use it for their nanotechnology systems, which I actually found out how they're doing it, like specifically step by step, creating the nano inside of the body. I'm gonna, I have to write something out and
Hey,
make sure
I'm gonna
it's
pause this real
properly
quick because I want to
documented
tell you
on
something. Okay?
there. Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I had to tell her something about my censorship. So you were saying you were developing something with the nano. about how to figure out the nano.
Oh, no, I'm saying that the nutrients inside the body and the vitamin deficiencies,
Oh,
that is what causes a lot of the reactions inside of the body that victims feel. So, I know I have to watch what I talk about here so you
I
don't
know.
get
I don't know why
canceled.
other channels get to talk about it and they won't let us talk about it, but
I know.
like we got sublingual. It's crazy when every time you get an extra, a person shouldn't have to go out and spend their extra money on vitamins. I mean, but I'm happy if I do get money or something, and that's the first thing I'm buying is vitamins because it helps.
And that's the thing. I'm actually starting to work with some doctors now. I got found two doctors, homeopathic doctors. They are in that type of medical field. They do heavy metal testing. They do blood testing and different blood analysis work. They do vitamin deficiency test, heavy metal testing. They do stool samples, and they do different type of work. So I'm just in the midst with them talking about contracts, and one of them is really good at writing research papers. So hopefully, we could get scientific studies and stuff on the EMF and the Havana syndrome and the AHI and the directed energy weapon victims, and start creating white papers and stuff about our research collectively, and different types of studies, and start releasing it out to the general public for the scientific world and the scientific community out there. So I think that's really good. I just got off the phone with them yesterday. We still have to set up appointments, and it's going to be more of a like referral method, you know.
Right.
um like, if I know somebody, you know somebody, I'll send them to you. If they need, if you're having trouble with your primary care doctor and not being able to get a simple heavy metal test from the hospital, then I could send you out to this doctor. So there's a psychologist I have on my website right now that I've been working with over for a year and a half. She helps victims who have been falsely Baker acted, have a
That's awesome.
bad evaluation. She'll do a second evaluation for her, for you guys, and be able to use that inside of the court system. So,
Right. So have you been like falsely diagnosed and you think and you want to prove that you're not what they're diagnosed as, she can help with that.
right,
That's
like if
awesome.
you're mentally ill or with schizophrenia or anxiety, and because she's even trying to do papers and stuff like that as well, because she noticed an influx in like schizophrenia. She was arguing one day with her colleagues because he gave a diagnosis to a person that was 55 years of age with schizophrenia. And she goes, she argued about that, and she goes, that is not in our handbooks, that is not in our code, that is not schizophrenia. Schizophrenia starts at a very young age. You cannot get it at the age of 55.
Right.
So she's even been starting to question some of her colleagues and trying to correct them, and giving the false, because this is where the false narrative is coming into play about mental illness increasing. And it's not increasing, they're giving out fake diagnoses. And I've even had somebody from the State Department, because contact me while we were talking, and they were noticing a difference in the different false diagnoses as well. And I brought up that topic matter, and they're going to start looking into it from that perspective But obviously they work in like drug addiction and mental illness and stuff like that. They still have to keep that copacetic and things. So I wanted to put in some research studies and analytics out there um, for them and see if I could do a separate diagnostic through their hospital and see if we could switch some of these diagnoses around and give my professional opinion and stuff like that too. So that would be working with the psych ward, but I have to get this kind of the state's approval on that to do a type of research project. So,
I was trying to find, cause me
and
and
that would
Holly,
align with not John Flynn that got released from Connecticut, Whiting out in Connecticut.
oh yeah, he went through that. And I'm glad he got released. There's a girl I wanted you to know about that me and Holly, I'm trying to find the post because I forgot her name, but me and Holly sent a petition to the judge and signed it. And Alternative Homestead put a thing out. Oh, a petition to release Jessica L. Thompson, PhD, in the descriptions. I also pasted information if you want a Word document. Anyway, Jessica was committed based on her beef. She suffers from she was some kind of doctor that was very smart and stuff, and she's committed that they keep it's so we signed this petition to release Jessica Thompson from her involuntary psychiatric hold, and she's still in there in Alabama, and it's just horrible. She's been in there for a long time too. So we a bunch of us signed this petition and it done no good and sent it to them, a professional petition drawn up, and
Hmm.
it done no good. So maybe I could have Lorraine reach out to you to try to get to that. You think the psychologist might help that person?
Absolutely, they should be able to help them
This
out.
woman has a PhD and is a very smart person, and uh, just because she was believes she suffers from electromagnetic hypersensitivity, a condition causes her distress due to electromagnetic field exposure. Uh, Governor proclaimed as so anyway, I was telling she has been fraudulently diagnosed with psychiatric condition she does not meet the criteria for. As a result of this fraud, anyway, it was a big one, a big deal about it, and we tried, and they won't release her.
Wow. Yeah, they should be able to help her out. Um, she just needs to reach out and contact her. So I don't know what capabilities they have. That family member would have to contact the doctor. That way she could set up the
See,
appointment inside the
it's her mom
hospital.
initiating it.
Yeah,
So that's a hard one, ain't it?
yeah, yeah.
And also, I just want to mention any TI out there or um, you know, uh, MK Ultra or whatever you are, if you have thoughts of violence, don't do it. It's not worth it. As you can see from anything going on, it just makes the community look bad, makes us look more dangerous, which we're not. And even if it was, even, they try to play, well, he was schizophrenic. Well, I looked it up. Only 1% of schizophrenics are violent. Schizophrenics aren't violent people per their DSM. That's what their DSM says.
Right. For
So it's
the
just weird how that bus thing that happened.
hmm
He said he felt something inside him controlling him. So if you ever feel something like that or hear something like, please don't go act out on it. It does no good. Violence is not the answer.
And that's the whole thing. They control the person's mind, they control the body, and even people like Edmund Kemper, the serial killer from the 1960s, they were even talking about how he was just driving down the home one day and he felt something take over his body. And that he pulled over the car. He drove past a girl and pulled over the car and just killed her for no reason.
Yeah, and he was
And
like a big time church member.
yep,
Worked for the city or something. Yeah.
he was a very low key guy, stayed to himself. He never hurt anybody or harmed anybody. And that's the first thing he said was, I was driving down the road and it felt like somebody took over my body. And
Then you got Gacy. Gacy was the neighborhood man. He threw big parties in the neighborhood and everything. He was killing people the whole time. I think
Gacy
they
was
did a lot
also
of
connected
experiments.
to the chief of police in Chicago.
Uh-huh.
So
I
I
think
mean,
they done a lot of experiments during that time.
I think they were both trafficking children at the same time. And then maybe Gacy said, no, this is getting a little, or I don't think it was Gacy. I think Gacy enjoyed it, you know. But I think both of them liked boys. And they were, because they were talking about parties and things like that with the chief of police. And anyways, that's uh, gross.
So
It's
I have been
demonic.
hearing
It's horrible, horrible.
I've been hearing, some people say it don't work, but a lot of people does say it does work. This thing that you said to set up on the computer.
Oh, the visual analyzer. Yeah,
Yeah. Could you share the screen and kind of tell people how it works and how easy it is to set up? Now I
oh,
tried
sure.
to set it up, but I had an old computer, so I think um I must have done something wrong because it made it run hot. But you said it was because my system was probably old, like a
Yeah,
10-year-old computer.
that is true. Usually with the computer systems getting hot, it depends on the settings that you're doing. Okay, so if you're using like a DC negative or a DC net positive, right? Oh, I gotta. How am I getting issued warnings for? Is my screen sharing?
What?
Am I sharing my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
No, I had a Windows thing pop up, like a Windows update. I'm like, Windows is done updating. We don't need an update anymore.
Right.
um,
I'm planning on doing a video to show people like this person showed me on how to set my computer up and how when you set it up, you take a picture of your registry and you can tell if there was a virus in your computer by anything news in that registry. Do you know what I'm talking about?
yeah, yeah.
It's just hard to explain to people how to do it, but
Well, that's okay. We're gonna sit here and talk about this right now, for you. So, you can see inside the screen. You know, a lot of people have said that it helps them, and the people who are saying that it doesn't help them, I think one, because I release different versions of this. So, well, I didn't release the versions, not the versions of the software, but versions of the step processes, right?
right.
So a lot of it has been changed for ones to get better results. And they haven't updated that information to help them. Now, when you pick okay, so let's talk about wave functions here. Okay.
All right, and this is called is this a certain kind of visual analyzer?
Yes, this is a certain kind. Let me go
Could you
to,
tell how to find it and all that?
yeah, let me bring that up for you.
Because I have seen and talked to a lot of people who said it did work um through social media and stuff. And that's why I brought you on today because I was like, well, I don't know how to show people how to do this.
So the visual analyzer is very, very easy. If you just literally type in visual analyzer, they spell it with an S. You can go ahead and click on it, and it should be SILLANUMSOFT.org. And
Uh-huh.
you could access into the website, and then once it loads, there's a download button. So with that download button, you want to go down to this installer right here, the download VA 25.78 installer. And this is the newest version that is basically created. And it connects directly into your Windows operating system. That's why they're talking here in this statement. Alternatively, you could download into a typically the C drive. It's because this operating system right here, the visual analyzer, it actually installs directly into your operating system of the computer, which means it's connected directly to your volume control settings. It's connected to your CPU. It's connected directly into your circuits for the voltmeter that they have available inside of the instruments. And basically, what that voltmeter does is it helps you with like calibration methods. And it could tell you about the DC. The DC means direct current, the current inside of your system for accuracy. Now, this is the good thing about this application is because it is installed directly to your operating systems and its core functions of your computer. So when you're running these, that you get proper readings and a direct connection into the waveform that you're using. Now, all computer systems, all cell phones, all television screens, all electronics, basically they have a signal, a wave signal that is created. So most people, cell phones run on either a sine wave or square wave. Televisions are sine wave or square wave. The really only people that use like triangle and sawtooth are military weapon systems and military companies. So when using and picking a waveform, you have to base it off of the electronic that is kind of being used and where these attacks are being produced from. So if, for instance, if you believe that you're getting targeted by satellite communication systems and aerial units, airplanes and drones, a triangle sawtooth would be probably beneficial for you. And that the reason behind that is because that is what is built in with their synchronization processing. They have to connect into your Wi-Fi. And since your computer is connected to the Wi-Fi, along with this operating system connected to your circuit board, when you change up that wave function, you're able to produce and send out a signal to disrupt their signal and correct connection into your Wi-Fi settings and throughout your whole entire home, which is why it's been very beneficial and lowering it. And it's all about the proper settings on here. So picking the wave function, the DC positive and the DC negative current, that's what they stand for, direct current, right? What direction of the current in your computer system do you want that current to travel? Do you want to travel in a positive side or do you want to travel into a negative side, right? So picking the current application of which the signal is going to run and produce inside of your computer system knocks the hackers off.
Oh,
If you think about it, because they have to think, synchronize. They have to hook up to your computer system remotely, right? So that desynchronization, where the DC negatives come into play and the DC positive comes into play, kind of kicks off their currents and starts interfering with their connections and their systems, because what you're doing is you're producing a pulse, right? You're creating a pulse through those currents that is able to create like a barrier at a speed. Let's say they're coming in here and the pulses are coming out, right? Eventually, those pulses are going to push back that signal that's connected to your system in your Wi-Fi until it hits your router, and then nobody's going to be, it acts as that barrier, and they're not going to be able to hook up to your Wi-Fi connection.
Oh, so this stops that too.
Absolutely, yes, yes.
So, but to do that, you'd have to use the DC positive or DC negative option.
Right, with the pulse settings. And you can, for extra, there is a pulse setting inside of the wave functions called pulses, and you can use that too as well. I usually don't use the pulses because there is a pulse setting naturally. So, but you have to make sure that you don't use impulse then, right? Just like DC negative and DC positive, right? You have opposites. If you have a DC positive here and a DC negative here, they're going to cancel each other out.
Yeah, so you'd have to do both of them positive or both of them negative.
Right. And the way that you offset the current is through the middle bar right here. So you got left channel A. Picture these like mono and stereo, right? You got your right channel, you got your left channel in speaker forms. So you could record, your computer systems or your laptops can record in both mono and stereo depending on how you set that up. So there's left channel options and the right channel options. So DC offset B, it goes towards the right channel B, and DC offset A goes for the left channel A. So usually I tell people, which I probably shouldn't, because maybe you had issues with this when you were running it on your computer and it was running hot. That's possibly because of the airflow or of how old it was. I mean, there could be different mechanical failures in there, which is probably why one of the DC settings wasn't.
But if you got a computer fan, it would help it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and I would also try to change the current then. If it wasn't DC negative that was causing the issue, maybe you should change it to a positive.
Okay.
And you may not get the best results with that, but at least you know that your computer system is safe with an older make and model with that, so there are options. Both of them have a drop down bar that you could go negative to 100 all the way up to a positive 100. So like when you're in the DC negative mode, you would want to use the negative, and when you're in the DC positive, you want to use the positive side. So some people you can do opposites, but then you might run in like a positive with the negative, but then you're going to have issues with that too. I usually tell people to do a Russian roulette. And they're like, well, I have V2K and they could see my settings, right? Well, close your eyes, do a Russian roulette, right? Move your mouse, click on it, and then quickly go to the next one. Do the same thing.
Right.
So that way you don't see. But and that has a major difference. I gotta take this. Hold on 1 second.
Okay. I'll pause it. All right, here we go.
So
All right, we're
sorry
back.
about that. Um,
So you're saying you want to, you want at the top wave function DC positive, at the bottom negative? You want a negative and a positive running, or a positive and positive?
no, 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 no. You would want a negative and negative, or positive or positive. You don't
Okay.
want um the negative positive because they cancel each other out. It
Right.
won't have
Okay.
effect. You're basically not doing anything. to your computer system. So that's where the DC offsets come into play with the negative and positive side. You can mess around with them and um, find out, increase the number. You know, maybe a 60 didn't work and it lowered it, but it didn't lower it all the way. Maybe you need to go higher and change it to a 70.
Now, is
Um,
that for V2K and weapon attacks?
It goes for, I've had people with weapon attacks, people with voice to skull technology systems, and people with tinnitus. Um, so work on it. Now, have it work for. But every setting is kind of different, you know. There's 3 areas that you can put settings in, right? The sweet mix tab is another area that you could put another um, wave function in. So a lot of this also, their complications are not having the proper settings. So let's kind of go over the proper settings here for you. Now, Gaussian, usually, if you go to the noise tab, right?
Uh-huh.
That noise tab has 2 different white noise distribution. What is white noise? White noise distribution has to deal with your LED monitors, your screens, your telecommunication systems. You have 2 different options. You have a Gaussian beam and uniform. Uniform mainly works on pixels, images, computer systems, right? Now, when I've noticed helping people, when they pick the uniform, that their computer system starts freezing because of the settings that they chose to put inside the waveform. Um, it's either too powerful for it and causes more disruptions, or it freezes up and they have to reset the whole entire system. So I think Gaussian is actually better to pick and choose for most of the victims. Uniform usually works for anything pixels, brain computer interface systems, remote neural monitoring. They're putting pictures and images inside of your head. That's where uniform would come into play. But Gaussian is for all telecommunications. Okay. What are telecommunications? Emails, phones, text messages, um, computers, anything,
So do
tablets.
you want to set all these up running at the same time, or would you?
I would do one at a time and see how that goes. If you have 2 computer systems, you could run the software applications on 2 computer systems.
Now, will it run in the background while you're doing other stuff?
Yes, you could run it in the background and work perfectly fine. I haven't had any interference at all when I use the application. Um, I've noticed with my cell phone, when I'm holding my phone in front of the computer system and the waveform generator is going on, that it kind of jams the signal, which means it's working as a jammer.
Right,
But that's usually when it's in the direct path. So if
right.
it's off to the side, I don't have complication. But if I'm in the direct path, then it's kind of jamming the signal, which is actually, and I have to reset my phone, like turn it off and turn it back on, and then it functions normally. But I've been even noticing my phone doing that when the application is not running. So I'm wondering if it's the phone.
Right.
I mean, it's not that old. It's only like maybe 3 years old, but you know how phones get. They don't last much very longer now these days, anyways.
And how did you come about, well, just real quick before we go, could you tell people how you came about figuring out this would work?
I had some free time or downtime and I wanted to try out different types of software. I was trying different analyzer, visual analyzers, spectrum analyzers, and I came across this one. And so I was trying to do different types of research studies into that and correlating it all into like my forensic science stuff. So when I got to this one, I noticed right away, I was going through the tabs, the different settings it had, and noticed that it had a pulse tab on here. Um, and this is where a lot of the help comes from. This is the key issue right here, because it does act as a jammer, because criminals are syncing to your computer system.
Oh yeah.
And so when you're creating these pulses, that it acts as the barrier, like I explained through the DC settings, right? So, and I was remembering an old article, and since I do the audio analysis, I've been working on live streaming the communications of the criminals for everybody. And I've been working on that patent for a long time, right? That way I could release it to the public. So I've been able to get it partially to work. So I could listen to the communications in real time. I just can't record in real time and listen to the communication systems.
Right.
So, I mean, that was a big part of the application, the whole thing of what I wanted to do. Um, so I can listen to them and identify them and things like that. And so I started to test it out, different types of features, and I could analyze the spectrums. And that's where a lot of my jamming sessions came into play and how I'm able to block the weapon systems now through that. Um, so I think this is very, very important. It's also the hertz range. Okay, so there are, let's change this to a sine wave, right? So there are different waveforms that you can choose, right? 10 hertz to 100 hertz, uh, 100 hertz to 1 kilohertz, 1 kilohertz to 10 kilohertz, and then it goes to max hertz, right? 1 kilohertz to max hertz. So I just make sure that it's on full range capabilities. As you can see, when you're in DC mode, you can't change the full range amplitude. And that's because um, you're working with currents. Once again, has to deal with currents. you you're not going to use a phase bar or phase degree or a channel at all. You're going to only sine waves, triangle waves, square duty waves, work on that. So you can change everything up. And when you turn on the machine, you could hear some of, oh, I don't know if I shared the sound with you guys. Um, you could change the sound in the features. Oh, there we go. To a sharp or flat. So you notice small changes going down, but not much. So you, sorry, it's through my monitor, not through my computer
So
system.
it can be,
Kind of lagging over here.
so there's no universal like settings that would work. It's kind of like trial and error.
Right. And that's the great thing about this whole application is you can change the settings whenever you want and desynchronize your computer system again with them. So let's go back to that noise tab, right? So here you have a picture of your waveform. You can make your waveform larger. You can make it completely smaller using the standard deviation on here. So if you think they're reconnecting to your computer system, you could change up that waveform. Now, because of the pulses, I always usually try to stay in um, this this waveform and less. You don't want to go really big because you have to understand how oscillation works, right? The longer the wave, like for gamma waves, right, have long waves, and then radio waves have short waves. So depending on the different communications, or is it the other way around? I can't remember right now. But so the waveform, you can change up the waveform on the application so it desynchronizes your system. Same thing with the mean. You could move it to the right, you can move it all the way to the left. Now, what the mean does, that is your starting point for your waveform. So if they synchronized your computer system because it has to oscillate, right? It has frequencies and goes through different oscillation patterns. You can change up the starting point, either to the front, to the back, and that can help offset that. So let's say it lowered your voice to skull, or maybe it completely made it disappear, one of the options. And then you start hearing it coming back. You could come back here, possibly change the waveform, change like the little bit of width, come back to a main tab, change the phase degree, change the offset, and then it would start working again, and you would have a little bit more protection and function with you. So you could constantly change it up all the time. um this is kind of like your channel, right? You're picking kind of a channel, just like a stereo setting. You can change the location, subsonic to ultrasonic. It's also your volume control. And this is, you can make it turn into a flat or a sharp. Notes are key too, because remember, sound waves, acoustics, that's how they can connect to our spine, songs of the spine. Remember what I was talking about years ago, songs of the spine. The
Yeah.
same concept. You're changing that frequency, that note, that tune that is connecting to the body and transitioning it and making sure it loses their effect. And you don't have to be in front of the computer system. You could get up and walk away, and it
Awesome.
works behind the scenes. And I could show you some spectrograms in a little bit. Um, just to let you know, I do have an appointment at 2, so we have about like an hour left. Um,
Well,
so,
I got about 35, 40 minutes. Is
oh,
that
okay.
okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Hey, let me
So
ask you this. Is there any way you can go and just put like, all right, return to default settings and start all over?
when you shut it off, it goes to default mode when
Okay,
you turn
cool.
it off and close the application. You can save your settings. There are some settings that say that has an apply button here, and an apply button here. So but this automatically goes back to default when you're on the Sweet Mix tab. So every single time you're going to have to change this. And this setting, I tell people to go to 43, and it used
Sweet
to
mix
be,
setting 43
yeah.
from 43 to 1,000.
I do 25,000 now.
Okay.
or 250 million. So 25 with 7 zeros.
Okay.
And the reason is because I'm converting the hertz into megahertz or megahertz into hertz. So 250 megahertz is 250 million hertz, which allows for nanotechnology. And so some people, when they use that high of a number, they feel the effects directly inside of their body. Well, that means the attack is too strong, and you might want to lower that pulse rate because it's hitting your body. So maybe instead of using 100 to 20,000, you might want to lower that to 900. Now, I would not lower it any more than 900. 900 for the pulse intervals is as low as you should go, and 20,000 without dots and periods is the highest you should go. Why? Because, like I said, the 20,000 pulse rate, I'm noticing the jamming in the signals and not being able to get phone calls through and receive phone calls.
Wow.
So, keeping it under that anything higher, you're gonna completely jam everything, and you're gonna be like, this thing doesn't work. No, you just did it too high. Yeah, kind of need to lower the settings. So if you get those pulse rates,
Number one,
sorry.
download the Propel app. It's completely free and shows you your EV.
So when you're using the different microseconds, you have a rate. You could choose it from 20,000 to 900. I wouldn't go any higher than 20,000 though. And some people change it up all the time, and that's just my suggestion. But just know that that's my suggestion for you. Same thing with the pulse width. Okay, now here you can see the pulse width down here. It's not going to expand. It's showing you a picture of what you're changing here, right? So the repetition interval, this is where the pulses come in with that repetition interval. The pulse width is how wide that interval is. So I would choose, you can go lower. 500 is the highest you should go to have a proper effect. 100 is the lowest you should probably go. And the only reason you can go lower, but you want to make sure that you're inside of this range right here. So you want it kind of wide, but not wide, super wide, but at least in a that it covers the whole entire expansion out there. So that's the concept behind that, and make sure that it's on infinite. You don't want to do single pulse shots because then it's gonna only do one, right? Hey, that's it. One pulse shot. You don't want one pulse per wave. So every waveform, you're only going to have one pulse that hits it. Instead of, you could use user defined, sorry, and the numbers of pulses. But if you do infinite, you have an infinite amount of pulses that are coming through to hit that barrier or create that barrier, if that makes sense. So I would stay away from the user defined and just click infinite, and then you could apply, and you can change these up. So if you're feeling really, really sick, or you turn on the machine and you feel like it in your gut, maybe your ears ringing or something, one, it's too powerful for you. Try to reduce it in order not to get those bodily effects, because you're sitting right in front of your computer system, so you're going to get those effects. And you may have to change the waveform too on what is applying with you. So you also want to make sure that it's linear or exponential. Um, Linear is always, in my preference, better to use than an exponential. You want to make sure it is directional and it repeats endless in a loop. The reason why I say bidirectional, which means it goes in multiple directions at one time. So you can have the circuits when you're using DC outputs, it could go and these pulses could be shooting at all different directions. You want bi-directional. So
That's a
that's
lot
the
to
best
learn,
way
but I
I can
guess
kind of explain
anybody
that.
can learn it if they're really, trying to get um, this stuff stopped. Like,
Right.
so drones or satellites, you said sawtooth or triangular. You try to use
Yeah, a white
because
tooth.
I've seen quite a few people posting that it works.
It
I'm just
has
hoping the people who may have computers who can
it
understand
has
how to do it.
worked.
You know.
I get comments all the time, and for the people who say no, it doesn't work, no, it doesn't work, I usually tell them, hey, come to me, we'll sit down. Unfortunately, I have to charge like $20 for 2 hours worth of work. I need to, because I need to do something, make some money to take away time from my report writing.
Right.
And it's not trying to get a money grab or anything like that. I have people who paid for reports that are clients, and I'm trying to get work done. And if you're taking away 2 hours out of my time, I kind of need to get
Right.
compensated for that. And I try to help them out over the phone all the time for free. And so and it works. I sit them down, I go through the proper settings, the standards, the deviations. The same thing with triangle sawtooth. Okay, so let's say you picked a triangle sawtooth.
And that's for satellites, drones.
Right, systems. Um, if you go to the triangle sawtooth side, you can actually change the waveform. Now, this has a default setting for you. If you click on it, it will naturally go back to its natural reset. And picture this just like on your main page. Triangle sawtooth 1, triangle sawtooth 2. So you could change these up, this waveform up, even if it's a little sliver, it creates an offset for your computer system, and you can change that up and desynchronize their system with you as well.
So that's what it's doing. So when we're being attacked, we're synced through the stuff in our bodies and stuff we breathe in and all that stuff. And
and
so this desynchronizes it.
yes, and 75% of the weapon systems are Wi-Fi based.
Right.
Whether they're connecting to your appliances, which is where the DC outputs come into play. So if they're connecting to your television screen, your electrical system, your smart devices, your appliances, although you're using it on your computer, it expects those functions because they're using the Wi-Fi to connect remotely to those applications and those smart devices, your IoT devices, your television screen. It uses wireless connections for you to watch your cable or your apps that you download and so forth on there, to
Wow.
log into accounts and stuff like that. Basically, you're turning your television screen into a computer system. So
Right.
when you're sending signals to block that access in your Wi-Fi, that's when the effects start really occurring. I have noticed that possibly white noise kind of helps with that. Some people with voice to skull hate white noise. They say their tinnitus gets really, really bad, or that it increases in volumes. Some say that it's helped them mask it and they sound garbled. So the voices will, you
Wow.
can't understand it or talk about it. So everybody has kind of like their different settings in a way, and some are like a sine wave, a square, and then you go back here. You could pick three of them. So a square duty, and then a DC positive. Something that helps me is a DC positive, and sorry, a triangle sawtooth. Or something that really helps me is the sweet mix. Now, what that sweet mix does is it creates as a do some tone, but it go all the way up and do each one from that 43 to 25 million level. And I'll go, it creates its own oscillation patterns in a sweep manner. And so that's probably one of the best ones that helped me myself, as I prefer the sweet mix.
Can I ask you this?
That's
Why
my
does
go-to.
some something that helps me with V2K is multitasking. Like if I get like 4 or 5 projects around here going on at one time and really focus on thinking different threads, uh, it really throws the V2. I don't pay attention to it as much and it kind of throws it off a little bit. Is that normal? Or is that to be expected?
That is to be expected. That's usually where the desynchronization comes from. A lot of people who say are getting severely attacked, right? That they feel like they're being murdered. Half of it is because their systems and their connections to you have failed. Um, Either they lost radio communication, there's a trigger malfunction, like somebody hit the attack button, because there's little buttons on their screens. They don't trust anybody with anything. So maybe the button got stuck on the trigger mechanism and it won't release. So that person is getting shot 150 times, and that's because their equipment is failing. There's a
Wow.
failure in it. And so they have to disconnect it. And a lot of the times they have like the nano team for the nat. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, I'm highly censored.
They have the nano team inside the body, counterdicting it. They could make you sweat. They
Yeah.
could have access to different portions of your glands. And usually that's for convection, because if your body does overheat from those weapon systems, they could cause you a reaction to save your life. And whether you realize that, I know that they're attacking you, and you're probably going to be like, what? She's for these guys? They're inside our body. No, I'm not for you. I'm saying sometimes they save your life and you don't realize it, because that trigger function is firing so hard at your brain and they can't kick that user out. Sometimes these bad guys go haywire and say, I'm going to murder that bitch. I'm going to murder that bitch, and start maywailing on that victim. And these people try to kick them out and disconnect them to save you. Yes, it is human experimentation. Yes, it is wrong, but sometimes they're there to help you out and you don't know it behind the scenes. Um, and that goes for me doing audio analysis for people. And I think that it's something you don't want to hear, right? Everybody, they're criminals. I get that and I understand it. And you have to understand, I also hear another side of your attacks by analyzing their communication systems, identifying their key networks and what they're talking about, which is why I'm so accurate with all the information that I give you, like on BCI technology and remote neural monitoring, because I identify their software. I know the equipment that they're using. I could map out their whole entire weapon systems and their simulation systems. I know where their payrolls and their paychecks are coming from, right?
Right.
I can tell the description on their body if it's a military one or if it's a regular company one, just where their name location is on their pay stub.
This stuff's very, very deep.
Uh,
Like they
and
were hitting my left side a few months ago, like 3 weeks straight, I would hurt, and then at the same time they were hitting it, uh, they kept calling me Patrick Swayze. So I look up Patrick Swayze and I find out how his demise, which I can't say the c word on here, for some reason, I guess because they always give me strikes for. So after I find out his demise, the way he demised, I figured out why they were calling me that. Then I start thinking, dang, maybe that's what it, because the pancreas, he died of, pancreatic C word. And so then
right,
they start saying, you've got and so then after 3 weeks, I finally drank a big bottle of magnesium citrate, and it was just heavy gas. But they had me really freaked out thinking that I had that, because V2K was in my ear calling me Patrick Swayze. Then when I found out after I read on Google, then it started saying you have you're fixing to die. You might as well get your house in order. They kept, just saying that stuff. Just man, they do all kinds of stuff on me. But it's when mine first started. I walked out of a hotel room that denied me, and my wife, which was my handler, ex-wife, whatever, was miles away. And I walk out the hotel after getting denied by 6 hotels, and I hear her and her friend talking. Look, he can't even get a hotel room. He don't know what to do. And it's their voice. I start looking in cars. I'm at a Hampton Inn in Springfield, Missouri. I start looking at because it sounded like she was, but they stopped using people's voices. Now it's kind of like robot voice. Sometimes it's a man's voice, the regular voice.
hmm
Sometimes they act goofy. Sometimes these people are childish. They call me Poindexter, Smiley Pants. I'm wondering why some of this stuff don't even make sense. Why they say some of the stuff.
and that's because they're different users all the time. You
Right.
have a regular hosting site, and
But ain't some of it AI too?
yes, some of it is artificial intelligence, and you can create a looping structure with that. So a lot of this, when you use the visualizer, that AI system will shut down and start running on a default. And what I mean by that is that the user, if there is a real person using it at that time, their system gets messed up and desynced from your system, that artificial intelligence sequencing kicks on as a backup default generator.
Oh, okay. Wow. um, does there is there any way to tell the difference between if it's AI or I've always
Yeah,
tried to figure that out.
there is. There is. You could start paying a lot of the artificial intelligence you could manipulate with your mind. You can't, you have to understand that your brain is connected to them somehow, some form, right? We don't know how, but if I analyze the communications, I could help you solve that issue. Now, so you are connected to the computer systems. You conduct the brain waves and the signals for those computer systems and those data transmissions. So every time that you move an eyebrow, you lift your cheek, frown, smile, angry, right? Have maybe twitch your ears. I don't have that skill set. I can't do that. Or like some people could wiggle their nose, right? You can control because a lot of the connections are connected to your brain, depending on what lobe, frontal lobe, occipital lobe, temporal lobe, right? You got four main lobes that they mainly focus on: front, back, sides, temporal
Right.
lobes, frontal lobe, occipital lobe. Pick your option. You got four. I mean, there's more lobes than that, obviously, right? But those are the main ones that they focus their beams on to generate those acoustics for you. And so they connect, it starts with your head, your neurons, which travel down your nerves to your neck, to your spine, through your heart, through your body, through your knees, to your legs, to your feet. And your feet, which is why a lot of people get attacked in their feet, is because your feet has its own neuron and brain setting in there. It acts as a second brain. And it controls a lot of your lower aorta. So your aorta, mainly for your heart, right? And you have a lower abdomen aorta, which controls a lot of the blood flow and circulation within your femoral nerves, your arteries, your veins, down to your legs, to your feet, with circulation patterns and so forth. So your feet have their own brain function and functionality, just like your ears do. If you look at acupuncture, if you go to different areas of your ear, it works for different organs. Same thing with your hands. It
Feet
works
too.
for different organs. Same thing with your feet. It works for different organs. So once again, that has to deal with the different frequencies, the sounds, the notes, the tones, right? The notes, the tones that are affecting your body system when you're using that type of application system. So, I forgot where I was going with that. What was the question? No, I'm joking.
No, I was asking about how to tell if it's human. So if you focus with your mind and try to block it out, if it's
Right.
AI, you should be able to do that
You
temporarily.
can. You could start focusing on those pitches and tones. Focus on that voice. Try to elongate vowels and nouns and pronouns. If they let's say they call you stupid, oh, you're so stupid, right? Is probably one of the common statements on it. And you think with your mind, you're so that noise, that word is going to trigger, and it's going to hold out, and then that statement is no longer going to be there. You could create trigger mechanisms using that technique and changing it. They want you to be negative about yourself with voice to skull technology. That's why they call you dumb. That's why they call you lazy. That's why they call you an idiot. That's why they call you a dummy, right?
Right.
I'm being nice here. Um, so when you're saying those things, you could manipulate it that, oh, we're the FBI and we're watching you, because you're filling in the blanks. You're giving them something to go off of and to put in there through your own mind. So it's really you generating those statements and that they use against you. That's why they say they call me a pedophile all the time, right? No,
Right.
if they say you're so stupid, change it to you're so smart. Think smart. I'm so smart. You're so pretty, amazing, wonderful, beautiful, intelligent.
So try to be as positive as you can.
Be as
Speak positive
positive as you can.
affirmations.
And that V2K will start reiterating that and saying, but she's such a beautiful person. She's beautiful, but I love her.
So if
You
it's
know?
AI, they'll do that. It'll do that.
Right. If it's
Oh,
artificial
wow.
intelligence, you can re-trigger it by holding out vowels with your mind, by elongating sentences, maybe e when they're talking, ah, get to different pitches and tones and stuff like that. You could create trigger mechanisms. Part of the trigger mechanisms also come from cellular devices. I've been kind of practicing this with artificial intelligence. I put on what helps me sleep at night is I listen to the Lord's Prayer over and over again. Right? Helps me fall right asleep. Um,
Handpan music works for V2K too, and tinnitus.
right. That artificial intelligence sequencing is going to go by what off you play. But since people watch movies, verbiage changes all the time, statements changing. But when you have something on a repeat, it's going to start having that trigger. Yeah, even some of the artificial intelligence will start changing, like our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. They'll change the words to be my Satan come, my my sins are done. You know, they'll change it up, but they now got the pattern of the Lord's Prayer triggered inside of the mechanism.
Oh, cool.
So it's kind of interesting to learn with artificial intelligence sequencing. This is why I don't trust artificial intelligence sequencing. But you can easily manipulate the communication systems and create trigger mechanisms. And a lot of it is mind over matter, thinking positive affirmations. If you hear the same person talking 24/7, I'm sorry, that person has to sleep.
Right.
It's a natural way of life. They cannot live that way. So, yes, there are real people behind the systems, but most of that is a form of artificial intelligence. They may be behind the speaker systems this way, or maybe added in to artificial intelligence. One person I found had a program of artificial intelligence, 72 programs running at one time on
Wow.
her. And that's so that person can start uh, being demoralized because they were so positive affirmations. This they need a negative outcome. And that way that person can start self-doubting themselves. 72, and it was one software that ran 72 AI program at one time, by the way.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, because this program, they want you negative. They want to take the love out of you. They want to make you bitter and think everybody's in on it. And then they'll start having you. Then once you think everybody's in on it and you're bitter, then you start making major mistakes, pushing people away unnecessarily. You know, man. Let me ask you this: do you see this ever coming to light, ever being exposed?
I think it is. I think it's coming to light right now. You know, they talked about Tulsi Gabbard being targeted, President Trump being targeted, Charlie Kirk, with his recent shooting, being targeted. And they're using that terminology in order to bring that out. I think a lot of the weapon systems are going to stay hidden. I think we are making a change and a difference, whether it's slightly or more. Like with my patent or medical device, you know, I'm hoping to bring it out to the public more so research papers and data science and data and analytics can be start being released to the public and more on a civilian side than on a federal side. And so we federal the federal side only does federal employees, and they even released something on NIH about Havana syndrome and that there are no similarities between any of the victims. Well, I've done Havana syndrome victims as well that have been diagnosed, and I could tell you there are some commonalities. How do you not have common symptoms in between them and even produce a Havana syndrome diagnosis in the first place? There has to be a common feature in order to get that diagnosis. So, I think they're covering up their crimes as much as they can, and I think we need to start getting in more into the scientific field, which is more where I rise and come into play, trying to get that research out there and in order to get it publicized and working with the different types of doctors and so forth. And this is a big thing on my medical device and getting it patented, because once it's patented, then I could start releasing it to the public, to the different colleges, institutes, and they could start doing research studies and that, especially on radiation. And
Would
I think this is just going to be first. I'll either be killed from that or I won't be killed from that. It kind of could go both ways. Not a lot of people want to prove radiation inside the body from 5G towers, if you know what I mean.
oh yeah.
So, I'm not saying anything bad's going to happen to me. I don't plan on anything bad happening to me, but you never know in this world. And I think doing the right thing and making a positive it's coming out. There's change, there's differences, and it is coming out.
Now, one more question? I know you're
Okay,
about to have to go. I am too. But have you noticed like different people? Like I noticed this causes a big divide in the community, and it causes a lot of confusion. Some people may not be getting hit as hard as others, you
right.
know. So, and do you think there's many different? Because well, you know, you've done research, you're an expert in this. So there's many different systems and weapons they can use, right? Are they doing
Right.
different stuff on different people for that reason to keep us all divided, no common ground?
You have to understand it's not always the same people all the time. It may be the same host, but there's different users. They sell the equipment out to criminals. So one day you may get severely attacked, and then the next day you might not be severely attacked. And it has to go with the rotations of the people who are interested in that type of software being used. Did they like it? If they didn't like that software, they're going to go try different software somewhere else on a different victim. Um,
Right. Okay.
they don't, maybe they want to use a weapon system instead of a drone, right? Maybe they want to go into a submarine or go fishing that day. They bounce around and they travel around through different linking stations, central host sites. There's central host sites. And so there's central host sites, right? So if you really think about it, you got Northcom, you got Southcom, you got Central Intelligence Agencies up here, you got mainly Chicago, you got Ohio, you got or Michigan, Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio, you got the different types of lakes here. This is all like trafficking routes. A lot of the ports come in from over in Europe into either like the New York side, Washington, D.C., Carolina, North Carolina harbor, and Jacksonville, Miami, Clearwater, Pensacola area for different types of ports and trafficking operations. So criminals could go from one person linking station. Weapon systems are different in every single state. Why? Because that's different state policies. But they have different ranges. So one of my clients, I found out their weapon system was using a CB radio.
Ham radio.
Yeah. So the CB has a range of 1,000 miles. So if that person lived in North Carolina and it has a range of 1,000 miles, it could reach to Illinois, anywhere inside of that central East Coast area with just a CB.
Wow. Pensacola was one of the worst cities I've ever experienced targeting in. I'm not gonna lie.
Right. So they interconnect and they use different weapon systems. Some weapon systems are stationary. Like for instance, Florida has the Predator drone. Um, Florida, the Predator drone travels along the Atlantic side of the ocean. And they go anywhere in between Kentucky, Tennessee, Louisiana, and they stay mainly in that southeast for the Predator drones. And there's about 12 Predator drones that are being used, and some are bio Predator drones. So, but they belong to Florida
Wow.
specifically. But they have a range that covers this amount of area on there. So every weapon system, it can be different and they may overlap, but most of them are kind of universal. It just depends on the state, I guess, you're at, and there is it a ground station, satellite systems. Some are
Now,
low
do you
orbital, some are not. So it
you
kind
do
of
have other videos explaining some of this stuff too, don't you? Ain't it on Rumble?
I have a lot on Rumble, and a lot of my
Agent
interviews are on my website as well. Agent X11.
okay. Yeah, on
And
Rumble.
my website, I have a page for a lot of my interviews and stuff like that that I haven't put on Rumble yet. So I'm still working on that. I'm still missing probably at least 40 or 50 interviews. I know I don't have any interviews of yours, so I have to download that, put that on my Rumble page and website. I just don't have time to keep up with all of that type of stuff because I'm busy writing reports for victims. So
Right, and the reports are very tedious from what I understand.
yeah,
If you do them right.
right, absolutely. And I make sure that all my work is 100% accurate, and I do that type of stuff. So, um, but I do have to get going.
Okay. Well, I
Um,
thank you so much for your time, and
you're
I
welcome.
hope this helps somebody. You know, and like she said, she's got Amy's audios. If you Google that, her website will come up, and her Rumble is Agent X11. Agent.
No, my Rumble page is amysaudios.com.
Okay.
I'm on Agent X11 every now and then. I was doing it weekly or bi-weekly, and then our schedules got messed up, and so now I'm on more of a I because I've been so busy, I told her I had to step back for a while.
All
And
right.
so basically I could say, hey, I got important information to release, and then they'll have me back on the show. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well,
I'm
thanks for your
on a
time.
rotation and stuff like that too. Every other week.
Right. Well, thanks for your time. I'm gonna stop recording because I know how it
Oh,
is to
you're
be.
welcome. God bless everyone.